We're concluding our Black Album coverage on this episode of the Press Rewind Prince Lyrics podcast by discussing Rockhard In, a Funky Place, the final track from that album. And joining me on this extra funky episode is Angel Monique. Welcome back to the show, Angel.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
You're welcome. Glad to have you back. I mean, we last chatted talking about the Ballad of Dorothy Parker from Sign of the Times. Arguably the best song on the album. I mean, for me personally, if I Was Your Girlfriend is my favorite, but Ballad of Dorothy Parker is one of those songs that I feel like everybody seems to kind of enjoy on some level.
Yes.
It's such a unique song. But
my absolute favorite.
Yeah. I remember you mentioning that, and that's why you asked to be on the show for that particular episode.
I have to be kind or be completely transparent and say it was actually not going to be me, but the song was given to me because it is my favorite song, because you were actually going to do that show with Julian Long, but he passed the song to me because he knew it was my favorite song.
That's right. I totally forgot that Julian had suggested you, because another guest of mine on the show, Julian Long, he said, "Hey, I know somebody who absolutely loves the Ballad of Dorothy Parker, like adores the song. She would be a perfect guest for you." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, give me your contact info." And so then we started chatting about it, and next thing you know, you're on my show. So
here we are,
and now you're back.
Yes.
Now you're back.
Happy to be back.
We've moved on now to the Black Album.
Yes.
The Black Album, for those who may be just jumping around, listening to episodes and not knowing exactly, because I kind of covered the genesis and how the origin story and what happened with the Black Album and why it's infamous as part of Prince's discography being shelved at the last minute by Prince and pulling 500,000 copies out of distribution, basically paying for it himself, because there was obviously going to be a lot of costs associated with such a last minute decision such as that. But then ultimately, 7 years later, it gets released by Warner Brothers anyway. So it's kind of a unique situation where a lot of people were really interested in the album in the late 80s, weren't able to access it officially, found ways to listen to the album anyway. There were definitely some promo copies that had been leaked prior to Prince having the official album pulled by Warner Brothers. So then people had those, started sharing it, copying it, dubbing it, whatever they could do back in the late 80s. And so for you, Angel, how did you become aware of the Black Album? And as far as the content, I'm assuming you knew that it existed, but then your ears, how did your ears finally get to listen to this record?
I had a dear friend. This was actually, because now I remember around the time. This was 89, 90, I think. And I had a very dear friend who was also he was like the fans fan. And he gave me a copy of it that he had. He gave me a copy of that. And he also gave me the Metal Wendy and Lisa tape at the same time. I remember that. And that was my opportunity to be able to, there's the rumors, but that was the opportunity to be able to actually hear it for myself. So I had it for a good little while. And then, as is common in New Orleans, a flood came through. And that was May of 95. A flood came through and I lost it. So that copy was gone to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's my little sad story. But I enjoyed it while I had it.
Yeah, well, at least the good news about that, I mean, silver lining, I guess I would call it, is that by 95, it had already been officially released.
Yeah.
So at least it wasn't a situation where, you had to beg and borrow somebody else's copy,
Right.
bootleg copy again to make another copy. But also 95 was pre-file sharing. It
Yeah.
wasn't probably quite as easy to get a hold of it or even just listen to it. Like, I mean, I take that back because with this album, this album still is unavailable in most streaming platforms.
Right.
So, like, if I wanted to jump on Spotify and listen to the Black Album right now, I would not be able to do so. It is available on YouTube, so you can stream it off YouTube. Thankfully, somebody somehow got a copy and put it up there and didn't get it pulled. I still to this day don't understand how that's
I don't know how
possible.
that happened.
You and me both, Angel, because you post anything that's unofficial Prince music or really anybody's copywritten music, YouTube flags that and pulls that immediately.
Yeah.
So explain to me how the entirety of the Black Album can get posted to YouTube and not get pulled.
Yeah.
unless it's
Somebody knew
unless it's
somebody.
unofficially, yes, unless it's unofficially sanctioned by the estate, which is my theory, but I have nothing to prove that.
I agree. And that's enough proof.
Yeah, there we go. We're gonna run with that one. Okay, so Rockhard In, Funky Place, as I mentioned, it's the last track on the album. It's a fairly, well, there's only 8 tracks, but most of the tracks run fairly long, like in the 6, 7, 8 minute stretch. Rockhard In, Funky Place isn't a particularly long song. It's like 4.5 minutes. It's kind of packed with energy. It's packed with a lot of humor. I call it like a song about the pitfalls of a man's uncontrollable tumescence, and that is my very wordy way of explaining what this song is ultimately about. Or I guess shorthand would be it's a song about a guy who can't control his hard-ons.
Pretty much.
Pretty
I like
much.
them
both. They both work because they basically
work.
what the song is about. So, but again, this is a lot of this song is sung by Prince in the Camille voice. So
Yes.
I guess taking a step back, this was initially recorded, Rockhard In the Funky Place was initially recorded back in October of 1986 at Sunset Sound Studios, while Prince was basically in the midst of recording a whole bunch of Camille songs. Like this was his, like fall of 86 was Prince in Camille mode all the way. He had been recording Rebirth of the Flesh and Good Love, 2 songs that ultimately didn't get official releases until much later. He had recorded Housequake around this time. I mean, he had the Camille album basically all planned out by this time. This was going to be one of the songs on that record.
Right.
Of course, as we know, the Camille album never was officially released. It got kind of absorbed by what would have been Crystal Ball. Crystal Ball then exploded into Sign of the Times, and this was one of the songs that fell to the wayside initially in early 87. But then Prince had another idea. I'm going to record, even though I just released a double album in the spring of 1987, I'm going to release another album in the second half of 1987.
Yes.
It's not going to have my name on it, but everybody's going to know who it's from. It's on Paisley Park Records, so it's not going to be too big of a secret. And I'm going to throw this song on here. And this is really the only Camille, this is the only Camille song that ended up being chosen for the Black Album, I believe. I'm running through the track listing through my head now. And it really kind of fits because the Black Album, to me, is funky and it's sexy and it's a little bit dirty at times, at a lot of times, at most times. And
it's a lot dirty.
It's pretty dirty. It's pretty dirty. And this song just fits in with the vibe of the album. Irreverent, funny at times, dark at times, and a subject that Prince is just not going to sing a lot of songs about erections. And it's just not a common subject matter for a pop artist. So here we are. It's on the Black Album. Then it gets pulled again. So then most people don't hear it for another 7 years or so. But for me, it's like, I love this song. I love the humor in it. Prince does a lot of different voices in this song. Did you pick up on that when you listened to it? How many voices he plays here?
Yeah, he does. He does, which is one of the things that I like most about it. I mean, it's Camille, which is my favorite. I don't know if we want to call it era or moment for him. Camille is my absolute favorite. But the voices that happen here all these different. This is quite a production to
Hmm.
to say that that everyone involved says, oh, it's just kind of thrown together. I don't.
Right?
That's kind of the impression that you get from everybody. Oh, it was just thrown together. But this one is quite a production, and
Yeah,
it's hilariously dirty.
it is. It is a lot of
Yeah,
tongue-in-cheek humor, a lot of like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, kind of
yeah,
double entendres and puns.
definitely.
Another thing that makes this song memorable to me is the Eric Leeds horns.
Yes.
So it's got a like basically the chorus is just rock hard in a funky place, Prince singing that line with this really kind of interesting abstract sounding horn loop that Eric
Hmm.
Leeds does, and I just find that part just insanely catchy. Like that, the horn almost sticks with me as much as anything else in the song. You just kind of get that dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
dun, 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 dun. Yeah,
definitely.
it's just cool. It's just a cool aspect of the song, and it's repeated routinely throughout. So it kind of feels like it's the chorus, almost like the horn's the chorus.
It does. It moves the song along, I think.
Hmm.
And I am not, as strangely enough, a musician, I was never a saxophone fan, but I love the tenor sax. I love that it kind of it helps to carry the bass line. I feel like, it moves the song, drives the song along. So yeah, I mean, Eric's brilliant.
It's kind of fun. I guess this was, and I'm just reading up a little bit on what Eric has said over the years about the creation of this song and how he had this as part of a song that he had called the Pacemaker.
Yeah.
And Prince heard it, wanted him to incorporate some of this into the song, so he did. And even like you can hear a little bit of Eric playing this horn line at the end of "I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man" from the Sign of the Times movie. Which I mean, I was very familiar with this album and this song when I would watch the Sign of the Times movie, in the
Hmm.
past, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years or so. And it's probably one of those situations where you hear something and it's familiar to you, but you don't place it right away, or you don't
Right.
bother to really kind of figure out where you've heard that before, because when you listen to so much Prince music, as I do, sometimes stuff just runs together. Like,
It
oh my
does.
God, like I heard that from somewhere, and you know what? It could take me hours to figure out where I heard that. So I
Right.
prefer to just have it happen organically when it
Just
just
let it
comes to me. Like,
happen.
yeah, and if I can't place it at the moment, oh well, I'll be okay with that. But I'm glad I
Yeah,
figured that out.
I didn't know until maybe a couple of weeks ago. It just was always a familiar thing at the end of the movie, and then when I started looking and getting prepared for this, and I was like, oh, okay. I
Yeah,
don't know how I didn't make that connection, because I think it's sometimes impossible to make the connections because everything runs into the other, or this song is over here but it was over here, but you know that it was supposed to be here, so just kind of let it happen.
yeah, yeah. You have to have like the song fresh in your mind when you're listening to it. Like if it's been a while since you heard the song, and then you hear a little piece of it incorporated into another song, that's asking a lot of your brain
Yeah.
to come back with that, just in a snap. And now, if I just heard "Rock Hard in a Funky Place" and then I just happened to watch the Sign of the Times movie, sure, maybe I would have picked up on it, but that wasn't the case. So,
Right.
for those who like that song from the Sign of the Times movie, "I Can Never Take a Place in Your Man," or have a copy of it, fast forward to about the 6 minute 15, 6 minute 20 minute mark, and that's when you'll hear Eric perform this.
Yeah.
Okay, so as far as the song goes, I mean, it's a lot. There's quite a bit of lyrics to it, considering it's only a 4.5 minute song, and there's like four verses. Really, no chorus to speak of, as I mentioned. The chorus is basically the
Right.
horns, and the song gets started right away after some he sings "Oh" with
Mm-hmm.
his Camille voice, and then we pretty much just jump right into the lyrics. All right, so the first verse of the song goes, "Does anybody know you're here? This house of ill repute, trying to deal with all your fears. I guess this is what you get for being cute. Soaked in banana cologne. No wonder you're all alone. It's written all over your face. You're just a rock hard in a funky place." And I didn't mention it, but when Prince slash Camille sings "This House of Ill Repute," you have a woman's voice, and I guess it's credited
Oh,
to
honey, I'm
Susanna.
scared of you. Yeah.
You got it. You got it. That's the line. That's the line. So anyway, so that's the first verse in essence. And I guess some things that I wanted to point out here are some interesting aspects of this first verse, like the house of ill repute, like right there in the second line of the song. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know about you, Angel, but when I hear that, I think of a whorehouse, basically.
That's what I think.
Okay, like,
I don't
is
know
there
any other
multiple?
house of ill repute.
Okay, all right, just making sure that we're on the same page because
Definitely.
I don't know what else that could be. I mean, I wondered, like, is that supposed to be like literally a whorehouse, or is it kind of like just any place where sex is kind of like the order of the day, which I guess I don't know where else that would be. I'm sure there's some sex clubs or something like that that exist. In 1987, I don't know. So we're just going to kind of stick with.
We're gonna go with that.
Yeah, we're just going to stick with the more traditional definition, I suppose, of what that
Yeah.
refers to. So another thing, you kind of chuckled when I said it, soaked in banana cologne.
Yeah.
What's going on here, Angel? What do you have much familiarity with banana cologne on men or banana cologne in general?
Banana cologne. I mean, I'm familiar with cologne, but of the banana sort.
I mean, I mean, okay, so imagine you're soaked in this cologne that smells like artificial bananas. Like, to
Yeah.
me, artificial banana odors and flavors are not that appealing. And I get some people like it. People like what they like, and I'm not here to
Right.
rag on that. But I personally am not a big fan of artificial banana flavors
No.
and odors. That's just for me personally. So if I walk past somebody who was quote unquote soaked in banana cologne, that would
Yeah,
be an
you're gonna
offensive
look.
that would be an offensive odor to me.
Yes. Like you're definitely getting a look and probably a wide berth because nobody wants to smell. I don't know. I am a back when I ate sugar because I don't eat sugar. A banana Laffy Taffy was the best thing, but it is the only artificial banana flavored thing that I've ever liked. Banana scents are, I don't know that I've ever smelled a banana scent. I don't know. I don't think I
Yeah,
want to.
I am so I even Googled it. Like I Googled banana cologne. Like, is this really a thing? And I'm just out of the loop. Um,
Yeah.
and and what I kept coming back with was what was it? Banana Republic cologne. So
Ah,
even Google was like trying to direct me point me in a
that's
different
someplace
direction.
different. Yeah.
And like, did he mean Banana Republic cologne? And he just skipped the Republic and just mushed it together to call it Banana Cologne? I don't know. But we know that Prince has kind of like this weird fascination with bananas, I guess. Purple Banana
Yeah.
from Let's Go Crazy talks about drinking banana daiquiris
Yes.
in Another Lonely Christmas. So I guess he either really liked bananas, like the flavor of them, like the scent of them, like incorporating them into wordplay or just whatever, or he just liked how it sounded. I don't know which one it
Yeah.
was.
I mean, I also wonder if it is something that has a bit of a deeper meaning. I mean, as deep as it as can be in a song like this, because considering the content of the song, when you think about banana, this fits. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It fits right along. So I've often wondered, what I don't know of banana scented cologne or perfume or a Bath and Body Works thing. I don't know, but that it is banana. The first time that I heard that, I was like, oh, I'm not sure what he meant, but maybe
Yeah,
it's a little different than just cologne because he used the word banana in a
sure.
song about a man with a heart on. So,
Basically, yes, yes. I mean, it's unexpected, so we'll give him that. It's an unexpected
yeah.
scent. And if there's like an alternate take on our meaning, like something like you're suggesting, like maybe he said that because he's trying to also reference something a little naughty.
Hmm.
I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, it certainly is possible for sure, I would say.
Yeah.
And the fact that he follows up this line with "No wonder you're all alone" also tells me that he knew what he was doing here. Like soaked in banana cologne is not something that's going to be appealing. Soaked
Yeah.
in banana cologne, no wonder you're all alone. No wonder you're all alone because you don't smell that
You
good.
don't smell good. And
to
soaked
the
in it
vast
is
majority of
not,
people, at
yeah,
least.
not even a spray. You're soaked in it. So, yeah,
Yeah.
you're not appealing.
Yeah, honestly, you could be soaked in any cologne, and that would be a little
It
too
would
much
be
for
bad. Yeah.
99% of the population, I'm sure. So,
Yes.
all right, cool. So, anything else that you think is intriguing or interesting here? I mean, it sounds like it's kind of like a story that he's trying to set the scene, basically.
Which is something that I love so much about him. There's always, I mean, you've got a good visual here. You know what I mean? And it's something that I appreciate. I've always appreciated so much about his writing that it is always so visual. Even in the instrumentals, there's some level of visual that you get. But this is definitely sets the scene because here this guy is in, I don't know if I guess we want to call it a sex worker's place. I want to say it the right way. But
Yes, yes.
what else can you see other than here's the scene? It's that he's in
Mhm.
there and he doesn't smell good. What's next?
What's next, indeed?
Yeah.
What's next for this interesting person? Then the chorus, of course, it's just basically rock hard in a funky place. And I want to talk just a little bit about the term funky place because
Hmm.
again, it's a interesting way of saying what I think it's saying and what I think maybe it's saying. And obviously, if you have a different take, we'll riff on that. But I mean, I get like a cool, different vibe or something that's stylish or hip when I think of funky in this context. I don't think of like
Hmm.
smelly or foul. I don't think that's what he's trying to say, but maybe. I mean, what's kind of your take on Prince's use of the word funky in this context for this song in particular?
When I think of cat houses or whatever it is that people call them,
Cat houses,
when
I
you
like
think
that. We'll use that. We'll use that.
let's go with cat house. When you
Yes.
think of places like that, my mind doesn't go to, I mean, I've never been in one. I don't, all I have is just television or whatever for reference, but I go to this really ornate place, where the the furniture is velvet and, of course it's probably purple in there. And, there's this mahogany stairway and, that sort of thing. So in that way, a place being funky where it's really cool and it's different and yeah, but is he referencing that sex is in the air? I don't know
Maybe.
which one, I don't know which one I think is the accurate, and maybe that's what the intention was for you
Yeah,
to not know which one which one
it's
he
pretty
meant.
vague. It's pretty vague.
Yeah.
Use because funky, as we typically we're typically talking
It's
about
that smell.
Prince. For him, it's just the style of music. But yes, most
Yeah.
often, when I hear the word funky, not talking about the music, is about smell, odor,
Yeah.
having a strong, unpleasant odor. Somebody smells funky, or that your feet smell funky,
Yeah.
something like that. And so then, when it's used in this context for the song, your mind has to almost take a different approach because that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Because he's not talking again, it's not referring to the music, funk music, and it's not
Right.
talking about. I can't imagine he's talking about odor, although at least not from
Not from a negative.
strictly
Yeah.
negative connotations.
Right.
There could be, like you said, the sex of smell in the air, or the smell of sex, the sex of smell,
Sex smell.
the smell of sex in the air. but also maybe this cat house or this brothel is kind of like it has a cool vibe to it, a hip vibe to it.
Yeah.
Maybe a place that isn't quite so seedy, or there's
Maybe it's like a gentleman's club.
yeah, something like that. Something that
Yeah.
still the intention is still there for somebody to find sex who's looking for sex, but maybe not quite as dangerous or um, illegal even. I mean,
Right.
that's actually legal in some parts of the United States. So maybe
Yeah.
this is on the up and up. Who knows?
Yeah. We're going to believe it's in Vegas.
There you go.
We know
This
it's
whole
illegal
song
there.
takes place in Vegas, even though
Yes.
we're just applying that, listener. So
Jason and Angel have said it. We don't know. We don't know that to be true.
no, we don't. So yeah, setting the scene. That's verse 1. Then verse 2, the lyrics go: "Here comes a lady, so you cover up. She's a freaked out, funky electric mama with double cups. You couldn't cop if you wanted to, because something near your leg is haunting you. Such a disgrace. You're rock hard in a funky place." So this verse seems to be focusing a bit more on the embarrassing aspect of what the song is about, essentially. Like the first verse is
Yeah.
just, like I said, setting the scene. But now we're really kind of understanding, why is he rock hard? Well, I mean, what kind of rock hard? Because rock hard could also mean like really strong, or
Right.
just having a strong will or a strong body. But no, he's literally talking about an erection.
Yeah.
And it's pretty clear here in the second verse that that's what he's talking about.
Right. This verse actually makes me wonder if brothel or a cat house, if it's really, this is where I question if it's something more, or, it's not just that, a club of some sort or whatever, because if you're in a brothel, then having an erection is an expected thing, I would
Yeah.
imagine. And nobody would be covering up, everybody would be getting uncovered. So it makes me wonder, is there this something, some other place, especially if you're, if you're a disgrace, or, for even having, for presenting that way. So is it something different than we initially thought from the first verse?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that, because again, this whole verse, he's acting embarrassed, like,
Yeah.
and here comes a lady, so you cover up, like he's trying to hide it. She's a freaked
Yeah.
out, funky electric mama with double cups. So he sees somebody attractive to her, and this is just a line or two describing her appearance. You couldn't cop if you want to. Now, I want to come back to that phrasing, because
Okay.
that's also something that I'm just not sure about. Because something near your leg is haunting you, such a disgrace. So he's trying to cover up this quote unquote disgrace. So
Hmm.
now you're thinking, like, yeah, again, if this was a brothel, this would be an expectation, as you said, and
Right.
it would be something that you wouldn't necessarily be embarrassed about. It's just, I mean, that's what you're there for, right?
Right.
So I'm wondering now, like, is Prince just kind of playing with the imagery of both? Like, he's kind of flip-flopping it. Like, ill repute is typically not you don't think of a club as a house of ill repute. But when you potentially go there with intentions to find a hookup,
Hmm.
and not just to have fun with your boys or your girls, or have a couple drinks and a couple laughs, if you go there with the intention of hooking up, then it kind of, in your mind, in that person's mind, it's almost like a brothel. You maybe not
Right.
explicitly paying for sex, but you could be, buying somebody drinks, spending time with
Right.
them, trying to get to know them, with the sole purpose at the end of the night to go home with that person.
Right.
So now, you put that in my mind, and I'm thinking, I think you're onto something with that, with it being Prince just playing with the imagery of a brothel, but really applying it to something maybe just more traditional, like going to a bar or to a club.
Yeah. That it makes more sense. I mean, yeah, I almost want to say I don't know, but it makes more sense to me, especially so this, here's this woman and she's got big boobs, I'm gonna assume, and
Double
she's
cups.
attractive. Yeah, she's got big boobs and she's attractive, and he couldn't get, you couldn't cop if you wanted to. So I interpret that as you couldn't get her, even if you wanted to, because she clearly sees what you have going on. So, and you smell like banana cologne. That
Yep, that hasn't gone away. I don't think he's gone home and taken a shower. So
right. But I
okay.
mean, in this instance, it definitely seems you couldn't get her attention, or it would be the wrong kind of attention, because you're walking around in this place with a disgrace or with an erection.
Mm-hmm.
So how could it possibly be a brothel if that's what's supposed to happen there?
Right.
I don't know.
It doesn't. Yeah. I mean, again, you can even one could still apply to the brothel idea, and just this person is
Yeah.
really kind of repressed or nervous, or like for as a man, it would be embarrassing. It would be embarrassing. Maybe not so much embarrassing when you're actually engaging and like you've taken the woman back to the room, but if you're just kind of like in the lobby, just hanging out, loitering, whatever, waiting for somebody to come say hi to you, maybe that person would be embarrassed by having an erection that quickly into the process. Who knows? But also,
I'm going to yield that part to you.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Maybe he's a first timer. I don't know.
Exactly. It could be a first timer, and like we don't know the age of this person. Could be just one of the situations where they haven't been around a lot of women, so it's just everything is new and exciting, and he just too excited for his own good, so to speak.
Yeah. And as a woman, that is it would definitely be a situation of, really?
Yeah. Like already?
Wow.
Right. You kind of get the feeling that maybe this person doesn't have a lot of experience with women, or they're just hypersexual. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think we're, with the two different options of how to kind of interpret these lines, I think I can't think of a third right off the top of my head. I think the two of them kind of make sense in either or. You could flip-flop it and both would make sense to me, I guess. One makes a little more sense than the other to me personally, but I can still see both as being...
But they both make sense.
Yeah, they both could still be legitimately, ways to interpret the song, I think.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else did I want to talk about? Oh, yeah, with the whole cop, you couldn't cop if you want to. And I just wanted to bring that up because when I think of cop in terms of like slang, I always think of like something that you're able to obtain, like something that you can grab or obtain or take. And I don't know. I mean, I guess I can understand from context clues what he's trying to say here, but I just hadn't personally really heard the word cop used in this kind of way before.
Yeah, it's in reference to a person.
Yeah.
Cool, interesting.
It is interesting. I don't know if that's something that he had heard before, if he was trying to turn cop into a different have an alternate meaning that wasn't really common. Don't know. Again, I can figure out what he's trying to say, but it's just you hear it used that way often.
Yeah.
Or ever, really.
Or
ever. There's a few things, like going through these podcasts and these lyrics, there's been a few times Prince has said something and I'm like, I've never heard that word before used in that context, or like I wonder if he was trying to make that happen and it just didn't happen. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it fit some kind of way.
Yep, he liked the way it sounded. So then we go to the chorus again. It's the same, rock hard in a funky place, and then you get the horns. Then he goes to the third verse. You was working on the line, you could drop on her, but you couldn't concentrate when your dick's so hard. Maybe if you cop a nut in the car, maybe you could think about playing guitar. All right, so I did want to ask you one thing, because what I read and what I hear in this verse are two different things. So it's the fourth line when he says, but you couldn't concentrate when your dick's so hard. That's what I'm reading on the internet. But I also hear, like my ears hear, when your dick saw her. I don't know which one's right.
It's such an interesting argument that people have been having forever. whether it's one or the other. It lyrically, it makes sense to me that he's saying when your dick's so hard in context to, but you couldn't concentrate,
Mhm.
uh, unless, but it would not be, it wouldn't be beneath him to give a penis a personality or an eye.
Yep.
You know, it
I
wouldn't be
mean,
out of the ordinary for him to do something like that.
no, it wouldn't. And really, at the end of the day, it still basically means the same thing.
Yeah,
That subject of the song can't concentrate because he's so horny.
right.
In essence, that's what he's saying. And if he means he's horny because he gave his penis a personality and the ability
Hmm.
to see um, this attractive woman, or just can't concentrate simply because his dick's so hard, which is what the lyrics say. And
Yeah.
the way he sings that line, if he says hard, he definitely doesn't enunciate the D at the end
Yeah,
of the.
there's no bite or no hard sound, hard sound
Mm.
on the D at the end of hard.
There's no hard
But I
D sound
honestly,
at the end of
yeah,
hard.
at the end of hard. I honestly, I hear hard, and I think that it may come down to just um not necessarily slang, but possibly AAVE. That's what I think. And
Mm.
that's why I think that I hear it that way, because it's not an uncommon words having hard consonants at the end is, not an odd thing. And in context to the rest of the verse, it makes sense. I think they both fit and they both make sense. But I've always thought that he was saying hard.
Mhm.
I've
Okay.
always thought that, yeah.
I mean, totally works for me too.
Yeah.
But here in the third verse, though, I think like if we start off the song thinking that he's in a brothel, and then by the
Hmm.
second verse we're like, maybe he's in a club. By verse three, I'm thinking he's in a club,
For sure.
and it's simply just because of those first two lines. You was working on the line you could drop on her. I mean, I don't. I'm assuming this is how it's done at brothels. You pay money, you get sex.
That's it.
You don't need game, right? You don't need game.
Right.
You don't need lines. You don't need to be able to pick somebody up, quote unquote, pick them up. Uh, and by this line, just kind of implies that this person is trying to pick up a woman.
Yeah.
You're working on the line, you could drop on her. So, like again, he's working on his trying to think of a clever, funny, anything that he can come up with to something smooth to introduce
Yeah.
himself to this attractive woman with the double cups.
Yes.
Um, but he can't concentrate because his dick's so hard. And so then it's like his brain, like the little devil on his shoulders, like, well, maybe if you go back to the car
Yeah.
and masturbate, basically go back to the car, masturbate quickly, go back in the club, and then maybe you can concentrate on the task at hand, which is
Right.
finding a mate.
Yes.
But then
Or
I
at
like
least one
Prince
for the
adds
night.
at least for the night, exactly. But I like Prince adds his little princely line at the end. Maybe you could think not about sex, about playing guitar.
Oh, playing guitar.
That's like
Which in
that's a
itself
cool line.
is it's a really cool line, and I have thought that it too was double entendre. I thought that
Really?
as well. Playing a guitar, when you consider the shape of a woman's body, um, plucking strings, this sort of thing. I'm a writer, and so my mind travels in those places. But it makes sense, that it could very well be that he is talking about a woman, or maybe he's in a club and he actually is going to go on stage and play guitar.
Maybe, and that's the beauty of the song with a whole lot of double entendres is that
Yeah.
you can think of it a lot of different ways. Or just Prince is like, you know what? I'm a guitarist, so it's time for a guitar solo. So let me.
Here we go.
This is my segue into the guitar solo.
It's my moment.
It's my moment because, of course, right after he says maybe you could think about playing guitar, he launches into a guitar solo.
Incredible solo, yeah.
Yeah. So it totally makes sense. But he does use the word cop again in this verse, like similar to how he did in
Yeah.
the second verse. Maybe if you cop a nut in the car. And again, that's just, I have not really heard that word used in that context before. I think, again, about obtaining something, getting something. I'm going to, cop those new shoes,
Yeah.
those new Yeezys. I'm going to go cop the new Yeezys or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for him to say that I'm going
Definitely.
to cop a nut in the car, just, again, it's just kind of hadn't heard it before. It's kind of unique. I mean, yes, I get what he's saying. I totally understand what he's
Yeah.
saying.
It's just an
I'm not
interesting word to
confused.
choose.
Exactly. Usually somebody would say maybe if you bust the nut in the car, that would be a more
Yeah.
typical way to say that.
Yeah. Because this is, I guess you just have to go with what's happening here in the fun and the lightness, because otherwise my brain goes to maybe if you obtain.
Yeah,
If you use the word in the way that it's intended to be used, and I don't imagine he meant that. So
no, I can't imagine that either.
yeah,
Okay, so verse 3 is a pretty funny one, just because you've got imagery of him trying to like hit on somebody, but he can't because he's too embarrassed, or he just can't concentrate because he's too horny. And so maybe he's even suggesting going back to the car.
back to the car.
Oh my God, it's like, can you imagine?
That's the craziest thing.
Can you imagine just like walking
gonna
back
run
to
back
your
to the car right quick.
Hey guys, sorry, I got to go back to the car. What are you gonna do? You don't want to know.
I'll be back.
Don't ask.
Right.
All right, so then we get some chants. We get the chants of rock, 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 rock. And we get the chorus again. So, I mean, from a lyrical standpoint, not much to talk about there.
Yeah.
But then we get into the fourth and kind of like final verse of new lyrics, although there's some lines later on in the song that'll be fun to talk about.
Yeah.
So, fourth verse, all you're looking for is love, or a reason to believe there's a God above. Pretty soon you'll get enough and head back to a life so tough. I just hate to see an erection go to waste. I'm just a rock hard in a funky place. Okay, verse 4, Angel. What do you like here? What do you want to talk about with this verse?
We get a little religious here for a moment, which is interesting in this space, but not for him. So it just seems like this moment where we get a little serious about why this person is here, and that they're seeking, or is it his opinion that people in spaces like this are seeking something higher, or they is it really that this person comes in smelling like banana cologne? So there's clearly no one, as we would say, your friends don't care about you. If they let you come out looking, smelling, whatever in this way, then you didn't have anybody to tell you this was a bad idea. You come, you're literally just kind of bursting out there, when you first come in. So is this someone who are we now in a little serious moment where someone is searching for love, which is not an uncommon thing in any of those spaces, clubs, brothels, any of that. Reason to believe there's a God above. That's an interesting line for me, and I'm not sure what I think of it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is. But in typical Prince fashion, I think like he just can't seem to write, at least around this time, write a straightforward sex song. Like he still has to kind of towards the end or somewhere and like, but hey, sex is great, sex is fun, but don't forget there's God above.
There's God above.
And there's other things in this world that are more important. And of course, he's been preaching love is more important than sex ever since the Purple Rain tour. I'm so confused. Love is more. I understand now. Love is more important than sex. So he's been kind of preaching this concept for a while now, up to this point in this late '86. And so for him to be bringing it back to more spiritual place towards the end of the song, even though it's on the Black album, And even a song that, or an album that isn't really rooted in a lot of spirituality. Like, it's hard to really find the spiritual angles on this album. Love Sexy, it's like you throw a dart at the dartboard, or throw a dart at the wall, and you're going to hit spiritual. It's everywhere. Black Album, it's not so easy. This is one of the few kind of examples of that, and it's really just, I mean, it's 2 lines, so it's not like it's infused throughout the entire song. It's just 2 kind of lines at the end of the song. All you're looking for is love, or a reason to believe there's God above. And so he's kind of talking a little bit about love and God, interchangeably in some ways, just like he does on Love Sexy. So he wasn't quite ready to make Love Sexy yet, the album or the concept, but he was getting there. He's definitely kind of using that, I think, that wordplay.
Kind of moving there, yeah.
God
Above shows up there too in Love Sexy.
Yep.
Anastasia.
Exactly. Yep. And this is just a few months before that, so makes sense.
Yeah. I always thought that it was really clever of him. There are these artists, Mariah Carey comes to mind. There's always a gospel song on each of her albums. And there are a couple of, there are others who do that. And instead of, putting a whole piece there, Save the Cross, putting a whole piece there, weaving it into the lyrics in some of the most overtly sexual places that he can, I always thought was so much more clever than just throwing the last track on an album being a gospel song, or or a Christian song of some sort. I always thought that this was so much more clever to weave it in, where people aren't expecting it, and it usually becomes the most memorable line because no one's expecting it there.
No, nobody's expecting that in this song based off of what we've heard up to this point, I would say.
Definitely not. I mean, we went from just going to whack off in the car to now you're looking for love. It's like it's a jump right from one to the other, so it's certainly unexpected.
Yeah. It's almost like either Prince writing the song or the subject of the song kind of has like a moment of clarity. Like, I'm here because I'm horny. Obviously, I'm horny. I want to find a way to, sorry to be crude, get my rocks off. But that's kind of that's what it is. That's what we're getting from this song up to this point.
Right.
But at the end of the day, this person still just wants love, just like everybody else, is what I think Prince is trying to say. Like, just because somebody's horny and needs to get their rocks off doesn't mean that
they don't want to be loved.
Doesn't mean they don't want to be loved. It doesn't mean that they can't believe in God. Doesn't believe, or doesn't mean like they're a bad person. And pretty soon you'll get enough and head back to Life So Tough. So again, that kind of speaks to me about, again, a moment of clarity, like getting this out of your system. So then you have to go back to normal life. I mean, you don't live in a club. You can't live life. You can't live life in this way. This is just a temporary thing. It's a temporary space in time.
And you gotta go home.
And then you got to go home and you got to go back to your normal life. And then, of course, the line, I just hate to see an erection go to waste. And what's interesting, besides it being funny, what's interesting about these last 2 lines of this verse is because up to this point, Prince has been talking about you. Like, he's changed the perspective from you to I. I just hate to see an erection go to waste. I'm just a rock hard in a funky place. So now he's not saying you're rock hard, you this, you that, which I find interesting because it's almost like he's like also speaking about himself too. Like, he knows that he's not just alone in this, or he doesn't. It's not just something that is unique to this person that he's singing about. Like, it's a common issue that people have. Every person struggles through it. Yeah, everybody struggles through times where they really kind of wish maybe their libidos could be put in check a bit, and you have to kind of balance that part of your life a little bit better. But he hates to see an erection go to waste, which I think is just meant for comedic effect, essentially.
I think so. I think he kind of just brought it back around to where the song originally started. He had that moment.
Pretty much.
Now let's get back to the fun.
Yeah. I had the moment, talked about God. I snuck it in there. Makes you remember that there's more to life. But at the end of the day, this is a song about an erection and somebody's
Right.
problems with managing them. So I gotta talk about it again.
Yeah.
All right. So then, towards the end of the song, we just get more of the rock cards in a funky place. You know, you got Prince singing as Camille. You got, I know Susanna's voice is in there somewhere. Got
Yeah.
the crowds chanting again, rock, rock. But then towards as the song starts to fade out, we get some more lines that are spoken by Prince in his Camille voice. We got to go, y'all. Tune in next week, same time, same boogie. Oh yeah. But then I like that. Those are pretty clear to hear. But as the song continues to fade out more and more, these lines are kind of almost buried. They're so quiet. Like you have to
Mhm.
really pay attention. But until then, keep your finger on the trigger. That's the only way it'll get bigger.
Oh gosh.
I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what else to say other than just to read them and laugh. I mean, they're just fun, funny lines. Same
Throwing
time,
out their
same
lines.
boogie. Keep your finger on the trigger. That's the only way it'll get bigger. So again, making more dick jokes.
Yes.
But
Interesting way
my
to go out.
yeah, but my favorite actually though is so the song fades and then it kind of comes back in just for a brief second, and then you hear Prince say, "What kind of fuck ending was that?" Uh, and that just makes me crack up too, because really that's the last line of the album. Like
Yes,
it's not only the finale to the song, it's the finale to the
but it's
album.
the
It's so
end.
so you kind of left wondering, like after listening to all of the Black Album songs like Cindy C and Bob George and the
Yes.
crazy songs, super funky, califragisexy, rock hard. You kind of wondering like, what the fuck was that? What did I just listen to?
The whole thing.
Yeah, not just the song or the ending, but the whole album kind of makes you wonder. Like, that was
Yeah.
really interesting. So I just find it humorous that he chose to end the album on what I consider probably an ad lib. Maybe not. Maybe he planned to say it, but it feels like an ad lib to me.
I hope it's an ad lib. I
Yeah,
really
me
hope it
too.
is one. It's perfect.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the album. I mean, especially with those last lines. I mean, did you? I don't know. I mean, do you almost have to have headphones on in order to really hear them?
To hear that last little bit of it, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm glad that well, good headphones exist. Number one,
Yes.
and number two, we have transcribed lyrics, even though they're basically just fan created because there are no officially printed lyrics for most of these songs, unless they
Right.
found some handwritten lyrics that Prince had, and they incorporated into some sort of
Some
online
sort
book
of
or something.
album that's going to be
Yeah,
released and we're gonna go buy
yeah. I
it.
hope so. I mean, I would love to have this whole album available officially streaming.
It would be.
Um, so someday,
We'll keep our fingers crossed. Maybe it's coming.
I hope so.
Handwritten lyrics would be the best. That I would absolutely want.
Hmm.
Handwritten lyrics, hands down.
Agreed. I love those. All right. So Angel, any final thoughts on the song, and if as far as like your enjoyment of the song, or just anything else you wanted to mention pertaining to
This
the
was
song?
short. This is a really short song. Well, it all just kind of goes back to what this guy, why he's there, what's going on, and what his embarrassment is. This is a really short song, but it's packed. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? I think it's just packed with a lot of nonsense, but it's probably, I think, in terms of what is hilarious to me, that he uses such a jokester. This falls right under Bob George for me. Falls right underneath it for me. This is one of my favorites. I know that it's not anything, and I which I said before, it's not anything anybody would have expected me to be on discussing. I'm not as straight laced as people seem to think I am.
Yeah, no, I
Really
didn't hold
not.
your feet to the fire on this one. You volunteered to be
No,
on this
yeah, I
episode.
volunteered for this one. He did not ask me, y'all. I volunteered.
You
Because it's
volunteered.
one of I volunteered. I'm here willingly. This is one of my favorite songs, and anything that is concerning Camille is something that I love to jump in and discuss because it's I don't know that I am sure there are more like me. I'm not a unicorn. There are people that actually do have a favorite song. How I came to narrow it down, I don't know. I know it's really instrumentation on the Ballad of Dorothy Parker that made it my favorite. But we do really have favorite songs and favorite eras and that sort of thing. And Camille is my absolute favorite. So this was a treat to be able to discuss this song.
Cool. Cool. I'm glad that you volunteered because it was really fun talking to you today about this one, Angel. I appreciate your perspective. I appreciate your levity. And of course, I just appreciate you being on the show. So thank you again.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Do you have anything that you want to promote or anything that you want to bring up at this point as far as where people can find you?
I'm really just kind of hanging out on Twitter a lot these days. As last show, of course, we talked about the bakery, but then there were things that happened. Well, it's not a secret. We had a house fire, and so the bakery is closed until everything is rebuilt. So I guess I'm kind of getting to take the holiday off. I hadn't really looked at it that way because usually holiday time is super hella busy and there's never any time to be able to sit down, hardly to do anything. So this kind of gave me a chance to have some time off and hang out. I'm writing. So, that's not something that I can say it's coming when I am writing a novel. So that's what I am spending my time doing right now. And of course, Storytime with Julian, I still work there. We are on a bit of hiatus, but we will be back at the beginning of the year. I don't have an exact date yet, but we will be returning. And so that's pretty much what I'm doing. You can find me. I am Melanin Monroe on Twitter. I'm usually just tweeting about whatever it is. These days, it's my son is a senior at Loyola in New Orleans, and he is doing his senior film project. So that's a lot of what the conversation is, that we are getting ready for shooting.
Well, nothing wrong with being a proud mother. So absolutely.
And I'm very proud. I'm very proud of him. He's our third college graduate coming up, and I am going to be a grandmother. So wow. That's exciting. And we found out on Thanksgiving that I am going to have a granddaughter. Aww. So that's been my life, trying to figure out where to keep all of the stuff that I'm already buying, where we can store it until April, because the baby's not due until April. So that's pretty much, awesome. I'm just kind of hanging out. I really am. This time of year, usually I am crazy busy, but I am now just hanging out and trying to get as much of this book written as I can, because I'd like to have it done soon.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot to look forward to in 2022, Angel.
I do, which makes up greatly for 2021.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta have to put the year behind you. Put the year behind you and look forward to you having a grandchild in your family. So that's awesome. Yeah,
that's what we'll do. So we've got a book coming and a grandchild coming and a graduation happening. It's just a good life. But I'm Melanin_Monroe on Twitter. I am you can find I'm on Instagram sometimes. I'm a plant person. I'm a plant mom. So if that's what you love, that's where you can find me. And there I am Angel_Grow, GREAUX_lightly. It's where I talk about plants and post pictures of rare plants that I collect. So that's what I'm doing right now. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much again. I've just been very pleased with our conversation today. I was a little nervous about doing this song with a woman, but it actually turned out just great. So I think it'll be. I think it will be just fine.
I think so. It's a nice, different bit of perspective, and It's always a
Yeah,
fun time. It's always a
yeah.
fun time talking with you. I always look forward to it.
Thank you. And this is a fun song. It's not meant to be taken seriously or very heavy.
Yeah,
It's not a heavy song. I mean, it's just a part of life. It's just it is. These things
that's what
are
happens.
part of life. Yep.
Yes. So we roll
Uh,
with them.
So we roll with it and we move on. And thank you to all the listeners. This has been the Press Rewind Prince Lyrics podcast. I've been your host, Jason Brenninger. You can find the show, Press Rewind Pod, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I spend most of my time on Twitter, but I'm on all three social media platforms. Also now on YouTube, so say hi there if you really dig YouTube. I try to throw stuff up on there besides just episodes. So bonus content for those who like YouTube as a social media platform. And thanks to Angel, and thanks to all the listeners. And until next time, goodbye.